Hey, what's up guys? This is Josh
And Jeannie
from East West Healing. Today we are here for episode 25 of Conscious Nutrition. As you can see, we're not live. Sometimes life, business gets in the way. We just get really busy. And instead of not being here, we figured we just record this when we could and get it up around noon so you can still get episode 25. Now, keep in mind it's not live. If you have questions, please post them in the comments below. We want questions, so please put your comments below.
Yes, but I also want to use this as kind of an example to what we teach our clients, in that there's been weeks that we haven't been able to be here and we weren't here. We didn't make the modifications to our schedule, and yet here we find ourselves again in a little bit of a challenged schedule issue. But know that we want to be here and need to be here with you guys. So we made some modifications just like we would instruct you. You to do. I don't know if that was a really good example.
Yeah, that made no sense, but that's cool. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. It made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just, this is, and it's kind of what we're here to talk about today. So I think it does apply really well.
No, it does. It's
the conversation.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's all about adaptation. It's like you think about everything you have. I mean, I have me to juggle, us to juggle, our son to juggle, daycare, clients, works, and there's a lot of things to juggle.
A lot of moving parts.
Sometimes when you schedule something, it just doesn't work. But bottom line, instead of talking about ourselves, we're here to talk to you.
Yes.
And talk to you about the journey of health. And this is a little bit different than typical weeks because we talk about physiology, we talk about hypothyroidism and all these different things. And this is even a precursor to all that, right? This is the most important thing, and these are some of the most important things that we talk about with clients. First off, as always, logistics, Greg Taper's favorite part of the show. Make sure you go to the comments because we're going to post a link for a free 15-minute consult, as well as a link for our Restoration Thyroid series. It's a 5-part, or is it 7-part? 7-part audio series on how to heal your adrenals and thyroid with food. It's a great way to understand our philosophy and where we're coming from. It's a great starting place. It's free, subscribe. And at the same time, you will get a simple ways to assess your metabolism manual for free. It's great. Jeannie created it. It's fabulous. So you get that from opting in as well.
And it's a little piece of what we've got coming in the near future. I'll just throw that out there.
I don't even know what's coming.
Well, shut up. Yes, you do.
I do.
What we've been working on.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do. That's the piece.
Yes, it's a big,
there it is.
Little small
Boom.
taste.
Yeah,
just,
so
we kind of just pulled it from there.
coming.
So this is a great thing for you guys to be able to utilize in the here and now. So good.
Let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's jump into it. This is a huge topic. I think this is one of the bigger topics
that we have Jeannie, with our conversation. She loves to talk about this stuff.
I love talking about this stuff because
that.
We see a lot of people doing, trying to fix their health. And in that, they end up spiraling out of control to some degree. And Josh and I were talking about this a couple weeks back and realizing that, a lot of what we're coming up against are not necessarily, and this might get a little confusing, but we'll try to clarify it, nutrition issues. What we're really coming up against are conditioning issues. And again, we're trying to use food as a distraction in a lot of cases,
right,
away from what's really affecting us physiologically.
Right.
So
I say that to clients too, but sometimes it's important and it's part of our journey.
Yeah.
Right? Even though it's a projection or an illusion or whatever you want to call it, for the real issues that are going on, whether it's because of a trauma that happened 10 years ago, maybe you're in an unhealthy relationship, maybe have mom issues or dad issues, whatever it may be.
It's not even that deep. It's even just how we're moving day to day, how
we're
navigating the day, how we're creating rhythms and schedules.
It could be you don't like your job, you drive an hour and a half every day to work and back. It could be all these different things, but for some people, it's the gateway to get in. It's tangible. I can do it. I feel like I'm in control. I'm empowering myself. And it makes us get to a point where we feel more resilient in our health, in our body, and in our journey, so we can step into those new arenas to tackle these new areas, right?
It's very resourceful.
So even though it is somewhat of an illusion, it can be a beneficial illusion.
I don't know if it's an illusion as much
Well,
as it can
I
be.
don't know the word.
It's not a good word.
Okay.
It's not a good word at all. Sorry. And I don't even know that distraction is a good word. It's something we can control. And I think that is
Control drama.
It's very it's very useful, because as we know, what we are doing is we are using it to create stability, right? So it can be used very, very successfully to help manage our body, our physiology in the chaos. So if we find balance there, how we adapt to the chaos around us is we're a lot more effective or efficient in doing so.
But that's a good point, and I think that this is where we begin to see the problem, because I was just talking to a client about this, right? So if we're not doing anything, or we're doing too much, we're not in balance, right? Health, namaste, is about balance.
Right.
That's what it's about. It's not about not exercising or eating McDonald's or not eating, right? Or not moving and feeling apathetic. But it's also not about being so rigid that you can't be a part of your life, right? It's about finding that balance, namaste.
The balance between the physical, the emotional, the spiritual.
Yeah, but just even balance with, like, the food you're eating so you don't feel super restricted. It's a balance between, okay, like, I want to be able to go out and eat with my friends. I'm just going to choose healthier food instead of saying, I'm not going to go out to eat because I can't eat these foods or I'm going to miss my snack, right? So it's really finding that balance. But at the same time, when people go past that balance and they start going into that chaotic, kind of OCD, obsessive about their health world, and they get online, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And I just actually talked to someone the other day that said to me, hey, like, I've been housebound, I've been bedbound lately the past 2 years, and I truly believe with the things you're saying that I literally got myself here because I tried to get healthy, and now it's an unhealthy journey. So my point is, I think a lot of the times what we're seeing is what Jeannie was saying. Food's not the primary issue, right? We find that balance, and subconsciously or consciously, now it's time to go into different realms, to work on these different things, but we're not ready, right? Whether it be unconscious, subconscious, or conscious, we're just not ready. So we keep working at it, we keep digging, but we go into that chaotic kind of OCD realm, and we're trying to over fine-tune something that's already fine-tuned, but we're not ready to move on. So if you're in that place, maybe you have to say, well, maybe what else is going on? You know, what else do I need to look at or be aware of that might be creating this unhealthy journey? Because a lot of the time it's not the food.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over some key points that we have found over the years, where, and of course there's probably more, where we believe you can kind of like have a solution to some of the issues that are having or problems that you're having. And I think people, I don't even know if I explained that correctly, but I think that...
Well, creating an awareness. It's
Yeah.
all about creating an awareness. Once you have an awareness, now you have an opportunity. But you just have to be able to tune into that. And I think that, again, coming back to the nutritional thing, that's what we're doing with our clients, is we're allowing them an opportunity to look and create awareness around what is working and what isn't working, so that we can zoom out and see the bigger picture, right? And then use food to address that, but also say, oh, well, here's this other little piece, and oh, and here it is again, and oh, shoots, here it is again. And we keep coming up against it. So
Right.
now it's like, okay, well, what is that? And how do I begin to look at that differently? And I think that that's really what it is. But
there was a good analogy I read yesterday. I forget where I read it actually, but it was about, like, you know, it takes a second or a minute to create a messy room, but it takes 10 times longer to clean that messy room up, right? The same thing with health, right? And that brings us kind of to our first piece of, or our first solution, right? And I think when we're trying to clean up our health or clean up our room, whatever it may be, we go too fast.
because we think if we go fast, we're going to get there sooner.
Right.
Worse, so backwards.
The problem is the state of our body is in that place. We're in the sympathetic stress state. So if we match how we're living with it, what's gonna happen? It's gonna create more chaos, right? So we have to slow down. We have to kind of like look at what's going on, assess what's going on, whether it be body temperature and pulse,
We have to develop
whether
the
it be
awareness.
journaling. We have to develop that awareness so we can set up a plan, right? And that's why some people work with us. They want that plan. They say, I have those pieces to the healing puzzle on the table. I just don't know what to do with them.
And a lot of people do. A lot of people have a lot of really great pieces to the puzzle. They're just not organized in the right way to meet where they are.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think it's important to understand that when we set up this plan, we have to set it up and go slow. That's we always stress out with people. It's the most important thing. We always say to people, you know, they always say, am I going to get results doing your program? Right? That's the $1 million question. Well, number one, we always say, if you put in the work, you will. Number two, if you go slow, you will. Everyone that goes fast fails. It's overload, it's overwhelming, it's frying, it's your physiology, because everything in your life is fast. You're in the sympathetic mode, so we're trying to slow things down, right, to quiet the system down. So we have to take bite-sized pieces, work on that piece, master that piece, work on that fundamental, and really get it to a point so it can support that next piece. But it's much more empowering, right? So if we say to ourselves, well, this is going on, that's going on, whatever. Like sometimes I'll say to clients that are in pain, they'll say, I can't walk, I can't exercise. Well, what I want you to do every day is literally go out to your mailbox and back.
Yep.
It's minute, doesn't seem like much, but for your body and physiology, it's a lot. So we're taking those bite-sized pieces. If we do that continually every day, that's going to allow us to grow, to walk a little bit more and more. So we have to kind of build that foundation and work on a little bit of one piece at a time. And it also, of course, builds empowerment, right? And that creates momentum, which, of course, the process is really important, right? So I think that when we slow down, when we create that awareness, we devise a plan, it allows us to reduce that feeling of just being overwhelmed. I don't know what to eat. I don't know where to go. I don't know what health feels like. I can't do this, right? That means you're going too fast. And usually in our first consult, how many people say this when we go over what we get? That's it. I can handle more. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Trust us.
It's not that you can't physically. How do I want to say this? There's such an internal chaos happening that your body can't metabolize all of that happening at one time, similar to what Josh was saying. So it is so important in the healing process that you meet yourself where you are and continue and kind of nurture. It's almost like a parenting of self when you begin to heal yourself, because it is really, you're nurturing your body back to a state of health. And the only way that you can really do that is to develop that awareness, but to also be more gentle, because when you do begin making changes, and although people think these are small changes, from a biochemistry perspective, there are tremendous shifts. When you start to affect your hormones in your body with your food, you are affecting everything in your system. The entire system is being affected. So there's huge things happening even with these small little changes. And again, if you're doing that in a system that is in a really chaotic state, it can exacerbate the issue if you're going too quickly. So,
and lastly with this, I think it gets us away from that thought process of, I'm going to sacrifice long-term health for short-term gain, right? It really takes us away from that and allows us to say, okay, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do today? I'm not going to think about tomorrow. I'm not going to think about living without osteoporosis or whatever it is. I'm going to think about today, because all those little things add up, right? You are what you repeatedly do, and they create habits, and that creates a lot of momentum through the healing process. So to really summarize that, number one, if you're going too fast, slow down, okay?
Take a more digestible piece that's easier for you to control.
Right. Number two, go ahead.
The environment. Your environment is not changing. So you're changing all these things with your food, but how you're doing everything is not changing. How your relationships are, how you're managing your job, how you're getting up and entering to the day, how you're planning, how you're prepping, none of those things are changing. I mean, I will speak to clients who are like, yeah, I had my breakfast, I did it, we're setting up food frequencies, but I'm on the road and I'm eating while I'm driving, but I have severe digestive issues, you know what I mean? So there's that combination. It's like, how do we do that in a different way? How do we step into the day in a way that's allowing us to be more prepared for what we need when we need it? And then again, observing our relationships, observing how we're going into our job. It's kind of like that whole idea of, you can't change the environment. You can't change the person. The only thing you can do is change yourself within that environment, right? So it's not about ditching your job or ditching your relationship or resenting your children or whatever the case may be for you. It's about meeting it in a different way. And what is that going to look like for you?
And if we don't, and that's why we tell people, like, when they work with us, you can't just eat food and think you're going to heal, because that's just the definition of insanity. We're trying to get people to really tune in over time to change their environment, change how they're living, thinking, breathing, right? And that's why I was just talking to someone about breathing exercises. I don't want people to sit under a tree laying down doing them. I want them to bring them into their daily life so they can increase their resiliency, right? I want people to wake up and go outside, and they say, I don't have time. Just go outside and take a deep breath, right? What is your morning routine, right? Are you hopping up and going right to your computer? Are you hopping up and just drinking coffee?
Are you waking up and rolling over and grabbing your phone and looking at your emails or social media? How are you moving into the day? You know what I mean? What? Why are you laughing?
You're funny. So, I forget what I was going to say. So it's important to think of your environment, because we have to set up an environment for healing. Everything we do has to support health. Most people come to us and say, well, I work all the time, I have 4 kids, and I'm going to eat, right? It becomes a huge challenge. Or whatever they're doing, they work with another practitioner, and it doesn't work. Well, why doesn't it work? And everyone comes to us, I work with this person, that person, that person, that person. Did it work? What is the common denominator with all these people? You, right? And you know why it didn't work? There's a couple reasons. The first is you probably didn't give it enough of a time to work. You didn't, like, let it kind of work its course. But secondly, it's because you're not changing your environment. You're trying to add more onto your plate, more in your day, more supplements today, more cooking, but you haven't created that environment for health. And that is huge, because when we do that, all these other things are very easy to do, right?
So a super easy way to do that and begin to take more control over the day is to just, whether it be in the evening or the morning time, whatever is best time for you, it could be even in the middle of the day, as get an eye on the day. What are your, what do you have to get done? What are the priorities of the day? What are the things you want to get done? Create a little bit of a list. You know, and if your energy tank is this full, or if it's, you know, assess your energy tank and say, okay, well, this is really, and be honest with yourself. You know, I think that's a big piece too. And sometimes we don't even really know what that looks like, so we have to play with it a little bit. But getting a clear eye on things allows you to at least settle into, okay, here's what's happening today. Here's what I need to do.
Here's what I need to eat.
Here's where I'm gonna eat. First of all, it doesn't matter what you eat at this point, at this stage of the game. Just when am I going to feel my body? What do I need to have for myself, right? And then again, just kind of taking that step can create so much ease and rhythm and flow for the day versus jumping from one thing and chasing your tail all day long.
And it allows you to see what's serving you and not serving you. And over time, not overnight, it allows you to make those changes. Because if you want to create health, you have to change. Right?
It's like I was just telling a client. It's like, it's looking at it, and this is finding the balance for each individual, because it's going to look very different for everybody. But it's kind of like, if you understand what you need and where you're going and kind of the principles around what we're doing here, then it's about looking at that and observing it in your life and saying, okay, I know this is what I need to be doing. And this is where I'm coming up against a wall, so how do I do it in a way that's going to be better serving me? Right? Because it's going to look a million different ways for everybody. So just keeping that in mind.
Awesome. So the third is try to focus on the solution instead of the problem. It's just a mindset thing, right? A lot of us are always saying what's wrong with us. Well, what can you do each day, little things, to help you work on that? What is the solution to you not having enough time? What is the solution to you not being able to eat your meals, right?
Well, it's kind of going off of what I was just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the solution to not being able to go exercise, right? Whatever. I mean, there's a million and one, examples. So when we focus on the solution, number one, of course, it's in a sense yin versus yang, positive versus negative. It's a huge mindset shift that shifts our consciousness and how we look at the day, right? Is it problem-oriented or is it solution-oriented? It's like when you own a business. Are you working from a place of health? Are you working from a place of harmony? Are you working from a place of success? Or are you working from a place of fear? I need to make money, right? So that can do a lot when it comes to healing. And I forgot what I was going to say with regards to solution, but it allows us to really anchor ourselves in the process instead of being, shiny object syndrome and getting pulled laterally. And that's why it takes a lot of people, time to heal. So when we focus on the solution, it anchors us in the process instead of not only in the problem, but the outcome, right?
So again, taking us away from present. So we're either
Right.
there, we're here,
Exactly.
we're there, but we're not here, right? And I think, again, we all know where that can lead if we're not able to be in that presence. And a lot of the times, I was just talking to a client the other day. She's like, I'm always one step ahead. I'm always one step ahead. I'm like, well, how do we bring you in the here and now? And sometimes that is just through taking moments to breathe. It pulls us back into the presence. You know what I mean?
It allows us to be in the process, which is the journey. It allows us to create a story. It allows us to create the outcome, right?
And here's what I find, I'm sorry, just really quick before I lose this thought. What I find a lot of people struggle with is what they could do before, how they felt before, how they were able to exercise before they got to where they were. So because they can't do that now, they're paralyzed in a way that they can't do it at all. And that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Do you find that's true?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, 10 years ago, I could do the X, Y, and Z. Well, we're not 10 years ago.
You're not present. You're not focused on the solution. And a big thing, a great book on this is called The Obstacle is the Way. It's about Stoicism. It's like one of my favorite books. You miss the lessons in the journey when you're not focused on the solution. You miss the obstacles. And the obstacles are there to teach us the lessons, right? But if we don't respond mindfully and we're not focused on the solution, what happens? We miss the lessons. What happens? It's going to take us 10 times longer to heal if we ever heal, right? Because we miss all those lessons. We react mindlessly. So what happens is we don't learn the lessons, we don't grow, we just stay where we are, stay status quo. That rhymed. So, number 3, focus on the solution instead of the problem, anchors you in the journey and allows you to stay present to really create your future and to create the outcome.
And look at those uncomfortable spaces as opportunity. Don't look at them as challenges.
Exactly. That's
look at
huge.
Them, that's big.
You're stepping out of your comfort zone. Of course you're going to be uncomfortable. Of course you're going to have conflict. But don't just jump right back. Look at all that kind of like uncomfortable.
It's a shift.
It's a shift. Look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. That's all.
Yep.
Okay?
We're not doing enough. They kind of all, they're all in an umbrella. This is kind of the
So the fourth one is, I guess the big example I can use and I use with clients is
Chinese bamboo tree.
Yeah, so there's always something going on. Clients will say, well, I'm not healing. I don't feel it, right? And you have to ask yourself, if it was happening, could you actually feel it, right? Because anytime there's a trauma, we have dissociation from self. And that's why we're seeing the emergence of all these dissociation disorders coming out. Of course, you study the work of Gabor Mate. He talks about this in detail. Anytime there's a trauma or stress, there's dissociation from self. We move further from self. And that's what we're trying to do with people with lifestyle and food, is get them closer to the self to create the awareness Jeannie was talking about. But the example I use with clients on the other end of the spectrum, what I just said is, when you're healing, it's a journey. Can you feel when your gallbladder releases bile? No. Can you feel when your cells are replicating mitochondria? No, you can't feel it, right? So the example is the Chinese bamboo tree. So there's a book called Chop Wood, Carry Water, probably one of my most favorite books of all time. It really resonates with me. And it's really about like this master and his apprentice, and it's like, teach me your ways, and like, just go water the bamboo tree. And he's like, nothing's happening. Every day water it for like 90 years. And not 90 years, but a long time. The premise is, as he's watering it, he thinks nothing's happening. But below the surface, this bamboo tree is growing and expanding at such a fast rate, right, to huge depths, to support this tree when it finally blooms, or the bamboo.
Infrastructure.
It's creating it's the fundamentals, it's the foundation. Keeps watering it. I don't see anything. And 5 years later, boom, 100 feet. right? That watering day in and day out, that work that he's doing is very important because it creates the foundation. So even though sometimes when you're healing, it's not working, I can't feel anything, just realize there's a lot happening below in your body at the cell level that maybe you can't tune into right now. And there's always something happening. Just keep chopping that wood, keep watering that tree, because at some point you will sense it, you will feel it, and you're just going to bloom.
And I think in talking about that, it would be important to kind of just mention the essential pieces to healing that need to be present in any healing process. And that starts with consistency, right? Because again, the body is needing to be shown, it's needing to be nurtured, it's needing to be re-guided
Consistency
into a
with
place
everything
of health.
you do, that creates momentum.
Yes.
Breeds momentum.
The awareness, the patience, the trust.
That you can heal.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes. I was talking to a client the other day who really was really having a hard time with trust. Yet she birthed multiple children. And that there just goes to show the strength of the body, the human body, and the resilience, and it's just powerful, you know? So can we come back and remind ourselves and be trusting in the health and strength of the human, the magnificence of the human body? Belief and courage, because it takes a lot of courage to heal. Because again, when you come up against those challenges, those are opportunities that come back to those conditionings of that nervous system.
Right.
So
we actually did a YouTube on that. I'll post that in the comment section. You can watch. It's the 5 key factors in healing that we kind of believe are the fundamentals, or are the fundamentals to really healing, and thinking about, you know, do I have the courage and vulnerability to heal, etc., etc. So we'll post that. So the last principle when it comes to turning a healthy journey or an unhealthy journey into a healthy journey is have fun.
Gotta have fun.
Gotta have fun. If you're not enjoying your process, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing for me actually working? Right? And I'm not saying like just drop out of everything because you're not enjoying it. Healing isn't roses and sprinkles and unicorns. Right?
It's just shifting the
Yeah.
way you want to experience it, you know, and slowing it down like we talked about earlier. I think, again, everyone's trying to get to this place. They're doing to get to a place instead of taking a step back and just being with what is, observing what is, right? So that, again, you create that awareness and that opportunity to make those changes. But if you're trying to push to get to a certain place, you're going to end up hitting the wall or getting frustrated or getting discouraged and, you know, and just spiraling.
It's just really kind of, in a sense, and it's funny, lowering your expectations, right? In a healthy way.
Not about lowering, but
not
being
lowering.
realistic.
You're realistic about your expectations, right? And just being in the moment and having fun with what you're doing, and just being, I'm trying to eat for life, to be healthy, to be a part of my life. And I think for a lot of people, when we do that, it doesn't become such a chore anymore. It's not dreaded as much as anymore, and it becomes a part of your life, right? So really try to enjoy whatever you're doing. If you're working with us, someone else, really try to enjoy it, right? I mean, we hear from so many people that are like, oh, I'm taking 40 supplements and I have to do all these crazy things every day. It's such a pain in the ass. How are you really going to heal if what you're doing is supposed to be healthy?
Or I'm so exhausted.
But it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
There's no good that can come out of that, right? So really try to enjoy your process and have fun with it. And even on the other aspect of it, even if you are in the process and you're like, this is a lot of work, working with you guys and doing all this stuff, but try to have fun in your life throughout the process. That doesn't mean you have to stop, you know, and you can't do the hobbies that you enjoy or you used to enjoy. It's getting back to those things in life that are fun, that make you smile, right? That resource you every day and ground you in life. So you are a part of your life and not just looking at your life, right? So, I was just going to say, does anyone have any questions?
But if you do, leave them
Yeah.
in the comment section
Yeah.
below, because we'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Right.
And we hope that, you know, you guys were able to take at least a few
Hope this
weeks.
resonates with
Yeah.
some people. I know we get a lot of questions and emails, and we talk to a lot of people that resonate when we talk about healing and that unhealthy aspect of it. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stuff out there that can make it unhealthy, and it takes us away from our fundamentals and what we really need to do. So think about what we talked about today and getting back to your basics, having fun, slowing down, anchoring in the process, and really just being, instead of just trying to do and push.
Right.
What should I do next? What should I do next? What should I do next? Well, did you really work on that piece? Right? Did it really bring you benefit? Are you aware of what's going on, etc.? Because that will allow you to move closer to self, which will allow you to heal. Yes. So don't forget, all those links are in the comment section. I'll post the other YouTube we did. If you have any comments, please post those as well in the comment section. You have anything to add before we go?
Nope.
All right, my friends, we will be here next week at 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific Coast time for episode 26 of Conscious Nutrition.
Have a great week, guys.
Peace.